Meteorologists are at a loss to explain what is causing this weather and why it has taken flight to drive.
It is the agenda for the 21st century you're living in today. For a brave new world where everything that you cherished and held true will no longer exist.
Families forced from their homes as wildfires spread across the region.
Yeah, thousands of acres torched as teams work around the clock to put out dozens of fires burning out of control in North Georgia, Tennessee, and North Carolina.
I mean, this is all people can talk about all across the Southeast, from Mississippi to Alabama to Tennessee to Georgia. We need rainfall. When have we last gotten rain? For places in Alabama, it's been, 90 days plus since you've seen an inch of rain. Birmingham, it's been 100 days. So we need rain. The drought continues to get worse and worse across the Southeast. The latest drought monitor came in yesterday, and it's been expanded, both in areal extent and the amount of areas that have the exceptional drought, which is the very worst drought category. It's been now expanded into parts of Mississippi and into North Georgia, into western North Carolina. It continues to get worse with the drought. That's why we have this fire situation on hand. 38 fires that are 100 acres or greater are burning right now across this area.
Well, even though we had a little bit of rain this week, 22 News Storm Team meteorologist Adam Tremko found out our historic drought continues.
Well, Juliana, things have gotten just a little bit better over the last month, but the drought conditions are still ongoing. After a few showers Wednesday, the sun was back out in full force on Thursday. While parts of the state did receive some rainfall last month, many locations are running more than 10 inches below average for the year. So far this month, we've only picked up about 0.04 of an inch of rain. On average, we get almost 4 inches of rain for the month of November. The Massachusetts Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs has declared a drought warning for most of the state. Many cities and towns continue to have voluntary and mandatory water bans in place. And if we don't get the rain now, then we'll need to try and make it up this winter.
Problem reaching epidemic proportions in the Bay Area. Fentanyl-laced drugs killing more than 500 people across Florida in 2014, and that number continues to rise.
Jameson, that's right. Pills that look just like prescription drugs with one major deadly exception. They can kill in as little as one dose. Some law enforcement officers tell me that fentanyl is the perfect counterfeit drug, virtually at times undetectable until the drugs are dropped off here to a state crime lab. Street pills posing as common prescription drugs like Xanax.
The problem with fentanyl is that it's between 50 and 100 times more powerful than just normal morphine. And if it's mixed into another powder that you don't know what you're taking.
The Pinellas County Sheriff's Office warning the public with these photos showing a side-by-side comparison. The resemblance so convincing, sometimes law enforcement won't know what they've seized until it comes here.
Since Monday, we've seen at least 9 new cases here in the Bay Area, 8 of them in Hillsborough County, a 9th case just confirmed in Pasco County, 5 others just reported in South Florida today. The total number of confirmed cases now stands at more than 1,100.
Well, fighting fire with fire, that's the new plan. Scientists are proposing to kill off the mosquitoes that carry Zika.
Yeah, and voters in Monroe County approved it, and now one Bay Area county wants in on it too.
Right now, this is how we are fighting the mosquito problem. But soon, one Florida county will be trying an alternative to spraying chemicals, genetically modified mosquitoes.
So you're getting rid of a mosquito with a very sort of scalpel type effect, rather than hitting it with a sledgehammer.
Scientist Derek Nimmo is leading the project to release genetically modified mosquitoes into the Florida Keys. The male lab mosquitoes reproduce with the wild female mosquitoes to create infertile offspring. Nimmo promises it's safe.
We've been releasing our insects for 6 years now.
A massive cholera vaccination campaign has begun in hurricane-ravaged Haiti. The country's been struggling with the disease since 2010. It was first brought in accidentally by UN peacekeepers, there in the aftermath of a devastating earthquake.
Using a gene editing technique called CRISPR-Cas9, researchers have corrected a genetic mutation that causes sickle cell disease, paving the way towards a potential cure.
We know exactly the mutation that causes the disease, and we know that if we correct that mutation, we will cure the disease.
Sickle cell disease is a genetic blood disorder that causes red blood cells to be abnormally crescent-shaped. These cells get stuck in blood vessels, blocking blood flow, which leads to severe pain and organ damage. The root of the disease is genetically flawed bone marrow stem cells that produce the abnormal red blood cells, and that's where the scientists focus their efforts. Using stem cell samples from people with sickle cell anemia, they used CRISPR to edit out the mutation in the stem cell's genome and replace it with a corrected version. Edited cells were then implanted into a mouse. That means the corrected stem cells produced healthy red blood cells efficiently enough to potentially cure the disease in human patients. But it will be years before the research translates into treatment. The researchers need to scale up the process significantly, as well as prove its safety in humans. The ability to edit genes is new science, and the researchers must prove their efforts to cure one disease don't lead to others in the process. But if proven safe, gene editing could become the answer to eliminating a host of genetic disorders in the future.
The Dow Jones Industrial Average has closed at a record high. Donald Trump's victory in the US presidential election had been expected to rattle investors. However, after a volatile opening, the Dow began climbing on Wednesday in response to Trump's conciliatory tone. It was fueled by big gains in components like construction, banking and pharmaceuticals. The index rose 218 points, or 1.18%, by the close of trade. It ended Thursday's session at 18,807.
Protests in major U.S. inner cities, L.A., Chicago, New York, all have fallen to what can be best described as Trumpophobia.
Racist, sexist, anti-gay, Donald Trump, go away!
But not everyone's chanting and fist-pumping. More law-abiding anti-Trumpers in New York took to plastering a subway wall with Post-it notes, giving out some positive vibes. Mainstream media, especially on the progressive and liberal side, freaked out. CNN went further.
ISIS this morning are actually celebrating Trump's victory.
Yes, the network got the world's worst terrorists' reaction. There it is. Billionaire fool will destroy America himself. And get this, comparing the worst terror attack in U.S. history to the presidential election. You heard it. 9/11 and 11/9 are equally horrifying. BuzzFeed's already counting down to the next presidential election. It's in just over 3 years and 11 months, so hang on there a bit. And if you're suffering from the PTSD, or the post-Trump stress disorder, there is a crisis helpline. Thank you, Huffington Post. Well, dear MSM, maybe you should call it, since you obviously can't cope with the fact that America elected its president.
Thank you.
That's how their democracy works, and has been working perfectly fine for the past 229 years. Strong enough, apparently, to tell other countries how to do it properly, until, that is, someone from outside the Capitol Hill Club gets the top job.
Is there a civil war brewing in the USA? That is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. As we mentioned last night, the voters rebelled, and Donald Trump won the presidency because of that rebellion. Just a few hours after the election was called, though, some anti-Trump protesters took to the streets. Nothing major, but the spectacle got intense in Oakland. The main beef seems to be that left-wing protesters don't respect an honest election. By the way, that's a hallmark around the world. Every communist and socialist takeover from Cuba to Venezuela to Soviet Russia back in the early 20th century featured violence and assaults on freedom. Here in the USA, we honor protest, but increasingly, we are seeing people who want our system destroyed.
If we don't fight, who's going to fight for us? People had to die for freedom where we're at today. We can't just do rallies. We have to fight back. There will be casualties on both sides. There will be, because people have to die to make a change in this world. But Trump, enough with your racism. Stop splitting families. Don't split my family.
Now, do I believe that woman wants to kill people? No, I don't. I think she's simply hysterical. But there are people, agitators, who do want to hurt you, who do not believe the way you do.
A lot of us, especially I think as young people, are really shocked and not okay with this decision, not okay with our system. We're here to speak out. We're here to really create the revolution that we know is possible.
Now, that woman's a moron. The revolution is going the other way, as we saw when almost 60 million Americans voted for Trump, a man with no political experience. That ballot box protest was peaceful. It's the way our republic works. No one was hurt, no one terrorized, no one killed. Unfortunately, our system is not being respected in many American public schools. More than 1,000 students walked out of Berkeley High School in California. Well, that's disgraceful. And in San Francisco, there's talk that the state of California should secede from the Union.
I would love to see us become our own country in a ways, you know, the Republic of California, because it feels so surreal. It feels unreal.
Well, it sounds like the South before the Civil War, does it not?
Okay, we gotta go. Oh, here we go. It looks like glass projectiles are being thrown at the police.
Protesters, this is an unlawful assembly. You must
I'm here because it's my responsibility. It's my responsibility as a white woman in the United States. It's my responsibility to make a stand not just for myself, but for all the other people that are going to be directly affected by a Trump presidency.
Their chants say it all. Demonstrators have taken to the streets across the US for a second day, including here in New York, to vent their anger over Donald Trump's presidential election victory.
Not my president! Not my president!
They fear the billionaire businessman's political triumph will deal a blow to civil rights. Here in Washington, protesters, mainly young people, took to a megaphone to voice their concerns.
There's a lot more of us than there are of them. Hillary won the popular vote. Bob does Trump hate. We need to continue this fight, you guys, please.
The election is over, but emotions still raw after one of the most bitterly contested presidential campaigns. Disappointment spilling out into the streets.
Donald Trump has got to go!
Voices continue to echo across the country right now.
People hate the system.
A wave of emotions, fear, anger, and frustration, pushing a flood of protests overnight. Thousands spilling into the streets from Los Angeles through New York.
Just to set up a sign to let people know and to wake up and tell them, you know, how we feel.
Feelings exposed by a close and contentious election. Boiling over in Oakland, where crowds burned flags and damaged cars. Fires burned in Chicago as well. And in Houston, protesters battered a Donald Trump piñata. Evidence of how divided the nation is right now. USA! Others are gathering to support the president-elect.
This is a fractured country, and Trump is the doctor.
You voted Trump! You voted Trump! Oh, yeah! Yeah, he voted Trump! Yeah! Beat his ass! Don't vote Trump! Don't vote Trump! Don't vote Trump!
Overnight, all-out brawls outside the Trump rally in San Jose, California. Trump supporters harassed, beaten, and bloodied by mobs of protesters.
They're like spitting on me and stuff.
This man says he was sucker punched, his clothes torn off his back.
7 more people just come in and start punching me. Carl, I look pretty bad.
This lone female Trump supporter tried to stand her ground. Her sign torn from her hands, her glasses ripped off, then shoved in her face. A woman wearing a Trump jersey cornered and then egged in the face. Fights breaking out in the streets all over the convention. Inside, Trump spoke to a large and welcoming crowd.
We're going to build that wall. Don't even think about it.
Bread is running out in the besieged city of Aleppo. Activists say they desperately need international action to avoid starvation. The UN is hopeful of avoiding a humanitarian disaster.
An SOS from the UN about food running out in eastern Aleppo and Syria. It comes from the humanitarian advisor to the UN Special Envoy, who says the situation has become critical for the 250,000 people stuck in the besieged city.
The reports we have now from within East Aleppo is that the last food rations are being distributed as we speak. There will not be more to distribute next week.
Fingers are crossed that a new UN humanitarian plan sent to all sides in the conflict will be accepted, allowing for the delivery of food and medical supplies.
Turning to Iraq now, government forces are facing stiff resistance as they move further into Mosul. The Iraqi counter-terrorism service has ended operations to clear some recaptured neighborhoods. But as they advance, bombs and sniper fire wait ahead.
We are facing 3 difficulties now: the safety of civilians, the protection for infrastructure, and the removal of extremists hidden in local homes.
as the battle for Mosul continues. Along this newly established humanitarian corridor, they walk, fleeing neighborhoods where fighting is still going on, arriving in suburbs that have only just been secured, but may not be completely safe.
We do stand on the edge of a great new era.
We built this great industrial powerhouse.
The whole idea of industrial capitalism in the West, government that was going to invest in infrastructure.
It is a time for pathfinders and pioneers.
What happened to the American century?
The share of income that we put into infrastructure has gone down starkly.
If you travel around the country, there's just not that much that's new.
What happened to America's ideal of progress?
All these things that had been established after the Great Depression fell apart.
You'll see that whole streets are just closing down.
A community that's undereducated, underemployed.
Baltimore was a blue-collar town. Now the air quality is wonderful because there's no industry here anymore. It's beyond life.
Detroit had a population of about 2 million people in 1950. It's now a little over 600,000.
Huge percentage of the budget goes to the military. This is an economy that's based to a large degree on killing people.
If you were to cut the military budget in half, we'd have a depression in the United States.
So they're literally working full-time and making poverty wages.
You have 1,600 vacant houses. It's insane.
They said, let's save a few dollars and pump the water in from the Flint River.
Decades and decades of being ignored.
Americans are finding themselves in a desperate situation.
It's a new state.
A lot of talented people here, but you will never know because of the reputation we got.
If you're an entrepreneur right now in America, the last thing you want to do is take risk. This is not a world I want to take risk in.
America is not the pillar of democracy and freedom that it was once seen to be.
Here we are, naked in front of the world. It's a real tragedy.